So the previous classes we covered some of the AWS services. So we have two things left. One is VPC, the other is the Kubernetes from Dockers. Okay. So that I'll cover. Today we'll start with a new topic. Chef. Okay. So what are the configuration management tools we have?
Ansible, Chef, Puppet, Salesforce.
So these are the configuration management tools we have. So we have seen Ansible, and the next thing is Chef. Okay. So Chef architecture. So Ansible is based on push mechanism. We execute the playbooks from Ansible master, and we have Ansible slaves. They are agentless. We don't have to install anything on the Ansible slaves as it works on SSH, right? So similar way, Chef also has Chef server, okay, and Chef clients. These are the end machines. And clients which we want to manage, and Chef server is the one which manages these end clients, and there is a new component in Chef. So it is not present either in Ansible, Chef, Puppet or SaltStack or udeploy. It is only specific for Chef, that is called Chef workstation. So this can be something like our laptop, or this can be something like a Linux machine, right? So Chef has three components: Chef server, Chef client, Chef workstation. So Chef server is the one which manages the clients. Clients are the end machines which we want to manage. Workstation is the machine where the user or the administrator directly interacts, right? That's a workstation. So this can be a Windows laptop, or this can be a Linux machine. But Chef server always has to be a Linux machine. And end machines can be either Linux or Windows. Okay, so these are the main components in Chef, right? So what do we call a script in Ansible?
Cookbooks. Ansible is playbooks.
Ansible we call
Chef.
playbooks. Chef we call cookbooks. Playbook is a collection of plays, right? A single task. Cookbook is a collection of recipes. Okay, so recipe is something like a task. So cookbook is a collection of tasks, right? So Chef is based on pull mechanism. In the sense, we have to execute the command on the client. So that client will get the changes from the server and it gets executed. All the cookbooks will be executed on the client. So the command to be executed is Chef client on the clients or the agents, right? So we execute the command on the agent. This command in turn contacts the server and it gets all the cookbooks. Then it executes the cookbooks on the client, right? This is based on the pull mechanism, whereas Ansible is based on the push mechanism. Where are Ansible playbooks? What is the repository of Ansible playbooks? Where do we get all the playbooks?
Ansible Galaxy.
Ansible Galaxy. In a similar way, we have something called Chef supermarket. This is a repository of cookbooks. Okay, so when we say chef, so the terminology, the terms which we use are related to kitchen. We call something like supermarket, we call knife. Okay, knife is a command that we execute on the workstation. We call recipe, we call cookbooks. This terminology is related to kitchen. Okay, so we have server, we have client, we have workstation, and then on the server, the command which we execute is chef server ctl. On the workstation, the command we execute is knife. Okay, on the clients, the command we execute is chef client. Okay, so these are the commands which we execute on the different machines. So there can be multiple clients, and there is one workstation, and there is one server. Now we execute the commands on the workstation. So first we need to configure all these three things. There are three separate packages to be installed for the three machines. Let us take three machines and try to configure chef on them, right? And if you try to configure chef, you'll understand how easy is Ansible. Chef is the most complex tool to configure in the environment. So first we need to configure all these three servers. One machine as server, the other machine as workstation, the other machine as client. Then we need to establish the communication between these three, and then we need to add the client to the server. So everything we do it on the workstation. So this is a one-time setup. Once we complete this, then we can execute the cookbooks, then we can execute the command line commands on the command line to perform different tasks, right? Is this clear?
Yeah, Santosh. Ansible looks way more simpler than Chef.
Right, compared to Puppet, Ansible are all the configuration management tools. Ansible is the simplest. So if there is any simple task to be performed, the preferred one is Ansible. And if there is a complex environment, either Chef or Puppet can be used.
Okay. How about UDeploy?
UDeploy actually it handles everything. Something like it also does deployments, also does continuous integration, also does this is the IBM product. There was a company called UDeploy that was acquired by IBM, and it's not open source. It is the proprietary licensed. Okay.
So you're saying if its environment is complex, let's say the communication between clients and server is not like reliable, then they're gonna go for Chef or Puppet. Otherwise, they're gonna go for Ansible.
Right. Yes. But most of the if you're already using Chef or Puppet, the companies mostly they continue to the same. But if any startup is there, if any new company is there, if they're starting something, so there are more chances like they go for Ansible because it's very simple.
So Chef and Puppet are in the market way before Ansible?
Yeah, Ansible is just they started before 5 or 6 years. Puppet was there from 10 or 15 years. Chef is also from almost around 10 years.
Oh, it's a very old tool, but I know right now it's getting popular even recently.
So Puppet is popular because it has a lot of manifests. So here we call cookbooks, in Puppet we call manifests. So manifest is something like a script. So there is something called Puppet Foresight where we can download the manifests. So there are a lot of, if there is any requirement, there are more chances that we find that in Puppet because Puppet is very old and then a lot of manifests are available.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So let us go to configuration. And this we cannot try in the laptop. because if you try in the laptop, at least you should have 8 GB RAM. Otherwise, a system may crash because Chef server consumes a lot of resources, and we need to have 3 Vagrant machines. And if you try installing Vagrant Chef on 3 Vagrant machines, one as server, one of the workstation, one of the client, the system may become slow. Okay, so anyway, we'll try. So these are the commands we use on the server, and knife is the command on the workstation. Chef client is the command on the end machines clients, right? So once we install these 3 packages, then we need to add the client to the server. So the Chef communication happens through PEM files. These are the security keys which will be generated, and there will be a daemon running on all the machines that is responsible for the communication between the server, workstation, and the client. Okay, and so adding the client to master is called bootstrap method. Adding the client to master is called bootstrap method. So this we have to do on the workstation, and there is a command to do that, right? So something like knife bootstrap, okay, then the client name, IP address, username, etc. we need to provide. So once we do this, this will add client to server. And Chef has a graphical user interface, so we can see what is happening in the front end. Something like we can open a browser for the Chef server, and we can see the clients, what are the clients added and information about the client, right? So what is the component of Ansible that is responsible for storing the information about the agents?
Inventory?
System variables, system information.
Post file?
No. If you type that command, everything about the agent information will be there. So starting from OS information, hardware architecture, the operating system, the flavor, mounted points, space.
Facts, right? Fact.
Yeah, facts. So in the similar way, there is something called, for Chef also there is something called OHI. So that if we execute, it will give the information about the system variables. Okay. And so here first we configure Chef server, then we configure Chef client, then we configure Chef workstation, then we establish the communication, we install the packages, all the packages. There will be different packages for different setups. So Chef server will be something like Chef server some version .rpm. Let us say in the same way, Chef client will have Chef client.chef.rpm, and Chef workstation is called development kit. So Chef tk.rpm. These 3 packages we need to install on the respective machines. Once we install, then we need to bootstrap. That is like adding the client to server. Once the communication is established, then there are a lot of things to do. Something like we need to create a user, we need to create an organization, then we need to copy the keys from server to client and from server to workstation, so that we need to authorize workstation to access server. In the same way, we need to authorize server to be accessed by client. So the server PEM files have to be copied to client and they have to be copied to workstation. So there are some configurations which need to be done, and once that is done, this is a one-time job. Once that is done, the communication will be established between the three machines, and we can execute the QuickBooks. And
so
it is like we write.
workstation, yeah. So workstation is mainly to execute the commands. Sorry.
Right. Workstation is to execute the commands, so it is the one which we interact with. As administrator, we interact with the workstation.
Santosh, can't we run the commands from the server?
Or we cannot run. Okay, so I have server available now. So this is CentOS machine. Now let me try to install Chef on it. So just go here and download Chef server. So this is the link, downloads.chef.io, and we have various versions, and here Chef server for different distributions. This for RHEL 7, RHEL 6, RHEL 5, Ubuntu. There will be different packages. So since I'm using CentOS 7, so the packages for RHEL 7 can be used for this. So I can just copy this URL and say wget. This will copy the Chef server to my local machine. Okay, it is copied. So Chef server is copied. Okay. Now I'll try to install it on Chef server. So just a RPM, I'm just installing. Something is wrong with my machine. Okay, Chef server is installed. Now next command is to Chef server CTL reconfigure. So this will create, this is the first command after installing the Chef server. This command will do some configurations, some default data it will copy, some default directories it will create, some default users it will create, so that Chef will use them in future. So Chef server CTL reconfigure is the first command to be used after Chef server is installed. So I'll just reconfigure. So this will take some time, some 5 minutes. Okay, so let this continue. Is this clear so far? Any questions?
Are you installing the Chef server now?
Yeah, I just installed this package, then just executed Chef server CTL reconfigure.
Chef server.
To create default data. Okay, so we are doing this step. First step, configuring server. Select one machine as server and install the package from Chef site. Then just execute Chef server CTL reconfigure. This will do configuration.
Santosh, Chef server CTL reconfigure is what do we need to give any input?
No, nothing. Command? Just execute this command.
Okay.
See, we basically installed one package. Then when we do Chef server CTL reconfigure, Chef uses a lot of directories in future for storing some configurations, for changing something as a user and all. So if we do this, so all these things will be, it will create some directories, it will create some users, some default data it will copy, some symlinks and all it will copy, and it will do a lot of configuration stuff that will be used in future.
So did you download the RPM from website or?
Yeah, from website, from here. So wget, I use wget to download this. So this URL, if I select and say wget, this particular package will be downloaded to the Vagrant.
Can you copy this link also to the notepad?
Yeah, I'll copy. But in general, if you just Google download Chef, the first thing will be this.
Okay. So you download it, then basically unzip it and then execute it, right? Just like.
No, this is RPM. Just download and say RPM-IVH. Chef server. .rp. So this will install. Okay.
So the first command is to rpm-ivh chef server and then chef server configure, right? That's
Yeah, next is this will download.
Yes.
So you get the URL from here. So just say wget and the URL name. So this URL if you give, this will download the package to local machine. Okay.
Okay.
This will download.
Yeah, that's the first thing, right? The first to download using this wget, right?
Downloads the package to local machine. Local machine, when I say it's Vagrant VM.
Yes.
Right. Once it's downloaded, we need to install it using rpm-ivh. This will install.
Okay. And then configure. Third step is to configure, right?
Yeah, third step is to configure.
First
step. There is a second step. There is a third step. Fourth step is to, sorry, this is the first step. Third step. Third is reconfigure using chef server CTL reconfigure.
Okay.
So this is chef server configuration. So let us see what is happening. Okay, it's still doing something.
One more thing, Santosh, for MySQL, I was attempting to install yesterday, and there are too many MySQL commands. Is it MySQL server, or MySQL community?
MySQL client.
The server. We have installed the server yesterday, right?
Yeah.
Client.
Yeah. No, see, okay, I'll tell you. 1 minute.
Okay. Because I have started yum install MySQL, and I was looking at Google because I wasn't able to find that videos. So MySQL server -server. So which one we have to install? There are too many MySQL options.
So we created a DB instance yesterday. Okay, this is on.
Yes, EC2. Yes.
No, not this one. Not on EC2 instance. DB instance is a fully managed instance, right?
RDS, sir. Right?
RDS.
Yeah, RDS. So
Yes.
what do you mean by fully managed?
It doesn't need server. It's independent.
Fully managed is something like we don't know what is the underlying operating system. We don't know what is the underlying hardware, right? So we created a DB instance from AWS. That is like creating a database, but it's not like we are installing on one machine because we don't know what is the machine it's installed. That machine is maintained by Amazon, right? So we don't have to worry about the patches, OS patches, or updating the system, taking the backup or anything, right? So that is called fully managed. So all Amazon database instances are fully managed. So we just created our DB instance. So what did we get? How do we use this DB instance? We get a DNS name.
Yes,
right?
we have that. Yeah, that is a long name we have got.
Yeah. So what is the port by default it listens on?
3306.
3306, right? Now I have a DB instance created. Now I have one EC2 instance. Now I need to access DB instance. I just need to check the connection, whether a connection is established between EC2 instance and DB instance, right? So how do we check that? Because application is going to write data to DB instance, which is running on the EC2 instance, right? I think we have seen the flow also. How does the application contacts the DB instance? There is a website running that is running on EC2 instance. So there can be multiple EC2 instances, right? There is a load balancer, which is the internet facing, and this load balancer will redirect the traffic to any of these EC2 instances, and there can be auto scaling set up for these instances, which will basically increase or decrease the number of instances based on the CPU utilization or the incoming web traffic. And this load balancer is internet facing, so when some internet traffic comes, it will be redirected to EC2 instances and it will be redirected to the application, and that application will in turn contact the DB instance, and if it has to query, it will get the query information, or if it has to write something, it will write to the database. To check this flow, first we need to check if this application running on the EC2 instance is able to contact DB instance or not. So how do we check? So we need to check from EC2 instance to DB instance. So for that we have installed something called MySQL client on EC2 instance using yum install MySQL, right? Then we need to contact the MySQL database. So this is the database DNS name, and this is the username, and this is the password we have given, whatever the password. So this will establish a communication, and you get a prompt like this indicating that we are inside the database. Now I can execute the database commands, queries, right? All those things I can do, right?
Okay, so to install the client is just yum install MySQL, right?
Right.
Okay, I think that this command was not working. That's why I was like struggling to looking for the other commands.
It was not working. What do you mean? I mean, it was not able to find the package, or?
Yeah, not find the package. I don't know, maybe later on if you can tell us, like we have
I
like.
think you may need to add repo.
Oh, okay.
Which is the instance you're using? You're using CentOS or Ubuntu or?
Red Hat from
You have this thing. What is it? The EPL repo added?
I haven't done that. Yeah, I think I will do that. Yeah.
Yeah, this is the first step. If you use our Red Hat, this is the first step you have to do. This has all the packages. If you have this, it will work.
So I just run this command. It will add the repos.
No, just say download EPL repo. It will give a package in Google, so that you have to install using rpm-ivh epl.repo, or sorry, epl.rpm. This RPM will actually configure repository in your local machine. Then if you install use any package using yum install, that will go to this repo. This is maintained by Red Hat. So this has all the packages in it, and then you can install any package from here. Right?
Isn't it already installed? Because other commands are working. So other commands are taking the packages from the repo anyways, no?
Yeah, so you can try this, because MySQL is not found means something like problem with repo.
Okay.
Or you can, yeah, this should work. Or maybe you can try MySQL server also, but it's not required actually. MySQL is enough.
Okay. Okay. I
Okay,
think maybe I think you covered how to configure repos or add repos in the repositories, but I don't know, later on when we have a time we can go through how to add more repos and which one, because I was having the same issue with the other machine. It was complaining that you don't have the repositories, or you have duplicate repositories, something like that.
Okay. Yeah, so something is wrong with repo. If you have this EPL repo, that is enough. That has all the packages.
Okay, so you just download this repo and unpackage using RPM, and it's gonna be okay. Okay, I'll try this. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay, let us see what is happening on the Chef server. Okay, so Chef server is reconfigured. Reconfigure is completed, right? So Chef server reconfiguration is completed. Next thing is, so we have completed these steps. Okay, reconfiguration is completed. Now we need to use the graphical user interface for Chef, right? To use this, we need to download something called Chef Manage RPM. This we need to install. So again, same procedure. Go to Chef. Go to Chef Downloads. And there is something called Chef Manage. So again, download this. Okay, this is for having the graphical user interface support. Okay, so after this again we have to do Chef's Manage CTL reconfigure. Okay, so I need to accept the license. Okay, this is again going to do some configuration data, create some configuration data. See, it's installing Nginx server by default. So that is responsible for configuring the web server. So when we open the URL, we will get the Chef server, and we can see the cookbooks and the clients added, the information about the clients and all that stuff we can see. Okay, to pre-configure, let us see. If we get something if you open the browser. Okay, I think I need to execute some more configurations. So firewall I need to stop. That I can do using set enforce permissive. Okay.
Get enforce.
Yeah, get enforce and then
Set enforce 0.
Open the, yeah, I did that. Get enforce, set enforce permissive will permit the firewall. Then I need to open the ports. Okay, I think by default there is Docker Swarm running. Okay.
I think you can turn off a firewall for testing.
Yeah, no, the two ports have to be open. Okay. Then so this is the Chef server. We have to log in. First we need to create the user ID and the password and the organization to log into the Chef server. So again, there are some commands, some syntaxes we need to follow to create using Chef server CTL command. So this command will create a user and it will set a password, and it will also create a PEM file for that user. Okay, I need to create root.chef because it will create that .pem file in the directory, PEM file in the directory. Okay, I think it's created. Now I need to create a user ID organization. So this will create PEM files. One is for the user, the other is for the organization. .pem. So these are syntax as it is. We need to follow something like user ID, username, and the full name of the user, and the email ID, and the password, and the file name which it generates. In the similar way, user chef server CTL create organization, organization name, full name of the organization, and the user. This user will be added to this organization org, and there will be a PEM file generated. Now a user is created and also organization is also created. So let me try to log in. So more or less this is the chef server configuration. Install the package, two packages, chef server CTL, chef manage, and create the user and create the organization. Then we need to go for the other two configurations. Okay. Once we have chef manage installed, then we can access that using the graphical user interface. Okay. Then workstation, development kit RPM we have to install. Then we need to create a directory and do some configuration changes, then copy the files. In the similar way, client also we need to install the client, and we need to copy the keys. Once this is done, once keys are copied, then all the commands will work. Then we can add the client to server. Okay, so something is wrong with this, because if we have 8 GB laptop only, then you can try this on the local. Otherwise, it's better to try on the AWS machines. So this consumes a lot of resources. So the system may hang or it may get stuck if we have chef server installed. Yeah, this is the graphical user interface of chef server. So you can see the nodes here. So far we have only configured the chef server. If we have clients added, This takes time. So this is the Chef server configuration. So downloaded the RPM, installed it, reconfigured it, downloaded the RPM for graphical user interface, installed it, and then reconfigured. Then we created the user. Then we created the organization. Right. So this is, once this is done, we can open the Chef server and log in. Right, using HTTP and the IP address. So this will open the Chef graphical user interface. So with this, Chef server configuration is complete, but this is complex. As I said, this configuration is complete, and we need to do a lot other steps to configure Chef client and then Chef workstation. Okay. So for Chef client, again, we need to install the Chef some version.rpm, right? Once this is installed, then there is on the client, the command is Chef client. Okay. So now we need to copy the keys PEM files actually from server to client. Why? Because server has to contact, client has to contact server, and they get the information about the cookbooks, because this is based on the pull mechanism. So in Ansible, it's the other way. We copied the keys from server to client, because server has to manage client. Server has to be authenticated, authorized to client. But here, client has to get authorization to server, because client has to contact server. So this is to, we copy the PEM files from server to client, because client has to access server for cookbooks, right? So this is the step we need to perform in the client. In the similar way, on the workstation is called development kit, rpm-ivh chefdk.rpm. And here we need to again copy keys from server to workstation, again because workstation also has to contact server. It has to get information about the cookbooks. It has to add the client to server using bootstrap method, right? Then we need to use knife command. So here also we have knife configure ctl command to configure the workstation. So this is something like we tell where are the cookbooks, etc chef cookbooks directory, and how to execute, etc, etc, we need to provide, right? Once we have this, then we can execute the cookbooks. So this is a one-time setup. So this Chef client has to be configured, installed on the multiple machines, whichever you want to manage. So we have server, we have client, we have workstation. So now it's saying there are no items to display because we haven't added any node to the server. If we added the nodes, all the nodes will show up here. The node information, the IP address, when it is up, what is the, when did it contact last time, what are the cookbooks associated with each server, what is the group it is in, everything it will show up in the web graphical user interface. Is this clear or is it like complex?
Yeah, it's clear, Santosh.
Okay, so it's just like we installed something, we did some configuration, and now we need to establish the communication between all. We just configured server, we opened the graphical user interface, and we are able to see the Chef web page. Okay, so tomorrow we'll try to configure client and workstation, and then we'll try to establish communication between all three. Once that is done, we'll try to add client to the server, and then once that is done, we can execute the cookbooks and see. Any questions? Okay, we'll stop here. We'll continue tomorrow. Thank you.